Please turn to page 317 for argumentative writing. In the previous chapter, we looked at opinion writing from stages 1 through 8. We will begin argumentative writing at stage 9 and finish at stage 10, because opinions and arguments go under the same common core umbrella of persuasive writing. In 6th grade, we'll focus on teaching students specifically how to write arguments. And in order to do that, we have 2 stages. Stage 9 is the 2-paragraph stage. That's where we're going to focus in on how to write an argument, but only at the 2-paragraph format. That way, students will have many repetitions how to write an argument, but with their final product will just be 2 paragraphs. This way, when they master those elements necessary for an argument, we then can move to a stage 10, an essay. In all the previous stages, we worked on opinion writing. We need to understand first what is an argument. I like to take out a gavel. We are going to learn how to write arguments. In order to do so, we have to go to court. We have to learn what it's like to be a judge, because writing an argument is like you being a judge and having your own courtroom. On the facing page 316, we'll take notes to understand what is an argument. You are the judge, so let's put the gavel in your hand. And in your courtroom, you have to judge arguments. Arguments have 2 sides. An argument could be a claim or it could be an issue that is coming into your courtroom. Both sides can debate the pros or the cons for you to judge in their favor. You are the judge. You cannot jump to conclusions. You have to be fair and objective. You have to look at both sides before you make a decision. You could have a debatable issue. Cell phones are a useful tool in the classroom. So that could have definitely pros and definitely cons that could be presented about that issue. You could have a claim or an issue for an argument that's connected to, let's say, your social studies. My claim is Julius Caesar was the best of all the Caesars. Now we're going to look at the pros and the cons to that claim. You could have a debatable issue that is connected to your science. Stem cell research is beneficial to our society. Definitely you're going to have your pros and cons. Once we have our argument, a debatable issue, it definitely has 2 sides, then we need to look at the 2 sides, the pros and the cons, the reasons for or against this claim or issue that's being presented in your courtroom. You, the judge, are going to listen to different reasons for and different reasons against this claim or issue, this argument that's being presented in your courtroom. And when you're listening to the reasons as a judge, you are also thinking, do they make sense? Do they truly back up your claim or issue? Your lawyers are going to bring in evidence. They're going to bring in their sources, and their sources can be primary, which means those are original. Secondary, which means that they have had some sort of interpretation. Also, tertiary, and those are more like reference materials. Judge, you have a courtroom, you need to be fair, and there's an argument, a claim or an issue being presented in front of you. That argument is debatable. It has 2 sides. So in come your lawyers who are going to present both sides. And those sides are going to have their reasons. They're going to present their reasons for their argument. Their reasons need to make sense. They need to back up their argument. That's what you're going to judge. Do these reasons make sense? Do they back up your side? And when they present their reasons, they're going to present it with many different sources, many different pieces of evidence. And those evidence are different types of sources. They could be primary sources, secondary sources, tertiary sources. Primary, original documents. Here's a photo, here's a letter, here's a video interview. While the secondary material, it could be an article, it could be research, it could be a book. It is produced by a party that is interpreting information. And finally, the tertiary, those are more like reference materials, dictionary, atlas, different resource materials. You, the judge, are looking at all of this evidence that your lawyers are presenting for their reasons to back up their claim. You have to analyze this evidence. This is part of being the judge. So when you look at the evidence, what are you looking at? Who is the party from which you got this evidence? A person? Is this a group? Is this an organization? Once I look at where you, the lawyer, got this information, I need to ask, what is the reputation of this person, group, or organization? Do they have an honest reputation? How are they viewed by their peers? So are they trustworthy? And also, are they reliable? I'm asking, what are their credentials, their experience, as well as their accomplishments? When we have our debatable issue, we have to look at both sides. We have to be the judge and not make a decision. We are not jumping to conclusions. And we're going to listen to both sides, their reasons, and see if their reasons make sense. Do they back up their argument? And when I look at their reasons and I look at their sources, I'm asking myself, where are you getting this evidence from? A person, a group, an organization? Is this person, group, or organization trustworthy? Are they honest? How are they viewed by their peers? Are they reliable? Do they have credentials, experience, and accomplishments? And all of this, what our lawyers are presenting us, is convincing and credible. We have our courtroom. We listen to our arguments. We're going to look at both sides. But because we are judges, we are constantly analyzing and evaluating whether or not they are credible and convincing. Once I have both sides presented to me, then I make a decision. And once I make a decision, that means that I've chosen a side. And when I've chosen a side, then I'm ready to write. Look what happens when we write an argument. We're going to have our research and analyze our research, choose a side, then we go to writing. Argumentative writing is don't jump to conclusions. You have to now be a judge and you have to analyze and evaluate information before you actually choose a side, and then from there, you're ready to write. Once we have analyzed and evaluated all the information, we're ready to write. And when we first write arguments, we're going to begin it as stage 9. We are going to use the anachronism bat tree in order to write our 2-paragraph argument. The BA is going to be paragraph 1, and the tree is going to be paragraph 2. B is background, introducing to my reader what is this issue or claim. Then I present my argument. I'm making my assertion, my claim, the side that I've chosen. Then I need to back it up. And to back it up for an argument, we're going to use tree. T is for transition. R is going to be for the reason. E is the evidence. And the second E is I need to evaluate the evidence. There is our bat tree, the 2-paragraph argumentative writing, from the process of being presented with a debatable issue, looking at both sides, not jumping to a conclusion, and after analyzing and evaluating both sides, choosing one, and then using bat tree to write our 2-paragraph argument. When students have the whole process of argumentative writing down, then we move to writing an essay. The same exact format that we've always had for our essays. Introduction, body, conclusion. And in the introduction, we're going to have our BA, and in the body, we're going to have our trees. So you could have 1, 2, 3 trees, and then at the bottom, we're going to have our conclusion and our snappy ending. There is our argumentative chapter and why it's separated on its own from the opinion, because you are moving up in your levels of thinking. You are not jumping to conclusions. You have to be very fair, non-judgmental, looking at a debatable issue, and then evaluate, analyze, and finally take it to writing. On page 318, I have your standards listed. Down below, you'll see we have our stage 9. We have our simple direction sheet here where we're going to follow the directions of background, argument, and use tree to fill in our organizer, bat tree. And notice down below, we need to cite our resource. We're going to learn how to write down our citations so that we can have a bibliography that shows our evidence and cites these sources so that our reader can also analyze them, whether they're credible and convincing. On the facing page, we have stage 10, which is our essay. We have our direction sheet that we will follow in order to fill in our organizer, having our intro, body, and conclusion directions, which is just a continuation of stage 9, but we have more trees and a conclusion paragraph in stage 10 to make it a full-blown essay. On page 320, I've given an outline of all the information presented, beginning first of all with the chant that you can show your students after you tell them about being judges in the courtroom. What is an argument? I, the writer, research. I learn about both sides of the issue. Choose. I take a side. And finally, write. I need to convince my audience to agree with me. After we presented our courtroom, we review the whole idea of researching, then choosing, then writing out your argument. And down below we have our research, write, and choose, and I've written out all that information so that you can come back to this as a resource and a reminder of all the parts of writing an essay. This is our overview for argumentative writing. Next, I will begin with stage 9, where we will walk through the steps to write a 2-paragraph argument.